Hey everybody, I'm Jody Vance.
And I'm George-Affleck.
And it is time for...
I've had it with these mother effing snakes on this mother effing plane! Unspun. I couldn't say the words because I don't swear ever, as you know, Jody. I'm a non-swearing person.
You're very...
This is a week of politicians saying what they want, doing what they want in the world. Not in Vancouver necessarily, but in the world. Although perhaps in BC as well. We'll get to that. But certainly, I don't know if you heard about the mayor of Peterborough and you saw, I think I sent you her tweet.
Yes. Can I read it? I got to find it. Let me just...
It's pretty good. It's see if I can get it here for you because it's kind of out there.
Yeah,
it's really
I got it here.
Viral.
You sent it to me.
She's Mayor Diane Theron of Peterborough.
Terrien, there you go.
Terrien. Yes.
People have been asking me to comment on the events of the past weekend in Peterborough. And just a refresher, as the Queen of Canada told her followers to go and citizens
arrest the police. I mean, it's basically the anti-vaxxers, right? Going there to
right, but it's the Queen of Canada. This kook.
Right. Not the actual Queen of England of Canada.
No. She's actually from here. This
Queen Elizabeth here.
No. So this is Diane Terrien, the mayor of Peterborough, says, people have been asking me to comment on the events of the past weekend in Peterborough. I hate giving airtime / spotlight to these imbeciles. Here's my comment. Should I just say it? Or do we want an E?
Well, I get an E, but no, we can. I don't care. Go ahead.
Well, because, I'm quoting her.
You're quoting. It's a quote.
She said, this is the...
Hey, Google, it's a quote.
Google, it's a quote. It's the mayor who's been asked to comment on the people who were doing a citizen's arrest of police officers in Peterborough, and they're being absolute nut jobs about it. I'm sorry they are, but she said, here's my comment. Fuck off, you fuckwads.
I mean,
what
you can't help but
right
love
there.
It.
Look.
I know.
Right there.
I know. I retweeted it. I'm like, I can only think of how many politicians wish they had the guts to say that any given time on a regular basis, wherever there's lots of situations where you know what I want to tell you right now. And then of course her follow-up tweet to that, because now people are calling to complain to the city and complain about her, and they're attacking staff. And she's like, hey. Stop attacking staff. Stop calling City Hall. Here's my cell number. And she tweets her cell number. It's like, call me. You want to talk? Call me. That's classic. That's beautiful stuff. I mean, I don't care what the issue is. I just think, well done. Well played.
Refreshing.
You just have the guts to put out there. And meanwhile, in Finland, I say that one too, the Prime Minister of Finland, Sanna Marin, she's gotten in trouble a couple of times. Here's the woman. She's 34 years old, been Prime Minister for 2 years. And has brought Finland into NATO. That's quite an achievement.
It's a big deal.
This is not the first time this has happened. And there's a picture of her like partying with a bunch of friends, and people are saying this is not the behavior of a prime minister. So it's interesting.
Right, you got to do that behind closed doors.
Yeah,
you got to take all that stuff you actually do and lie about it. That's better. Come on.
I know. Amanda used to have sometimes we had a couple of glasses of wine and we'd be at a restaurant and I'd be talking and I'd start getting louder. And so she was George, politics. That was our safe word to tell me to shut up. You're talking too loud about stuff that you shouldn't be talking about. Because, I can get kind of obnoxious even without a glass of wine in me. Maybe you know that. So I thought that was kind of fun. And I think what's interesting is the divide of people. Not on both those topics. You're seeing, I think, a division of kinds of certainly younger people are going, yeah, can you be the mayor of Toronto? Things like that. Or you are, Jon Snow, like people pulling clips of Jon Snow from
Breaking Bad.
And you are
Game of Thrones. Look at, I don't even know my Breaking Bad.
You are my queen. Things like that. So it's interesting, and it's makes vanpoli look really interesting. Boring. I mean, it's like because we got some rumors about NPA here in Vancouver right now.
Okay, but just before we get to the NPA, because we're talking across Canada, let's get to BC politics a little bit, because there's some breaking news as of the moment that we're recording this. Kevin Falcon found himself a little bit in the crosshairs about one in his caucus who was pretty much a climate denier.
Yep.
Climate emergency denier. And I guess there's been some significant development here on the reaction from the BC Liberal caucus.
Yeah, John Rustad, who's been an MLA for few terms, he's up north, and Kevin Falcon gave him the boot out of the caucus, so he's now an independent. It's an interesting riding up there. It splits. There are a lot of conservatives up there, a lot of kind of Alberta mentality. So. But Kevin Falcon, first sign, showing toughness with the caucus. We've talked about this before. If you don't have control of your caucus, you're done. You're toast in office. Whether it's provincial or federal, they have a much more, structured caucus. But even you see what happened in Vancouver with party alignments, and that's kind of the party system is kind of a caucus in a way. And you get elected, and you have to work together, and it's really, really hard to work together once you're elected. So keeping your caucus in line is very challenging, and this was the first sign that Kevin Falcon's not going to take any guff from his caucus, and you're out, buddy.
I find it interesting too, because up to this point, the oft heard excuse whenever there was one within the caucus who would speak out in a way that would turn off a large part of that mushy middle for sure, but even a broader base than that. What comes to mind for me is the pro-choice, pro-life argument that was also had in some areas of the province under the big tent is what my point is. It's like, whoa, we're a big tent party. It's like my big tent party, and I'm not saying that I'm a BC Liberal, but I would never vote for a party that stood for dictating what I should do with my body. I would also find it very difficult to vote for a party who was denying that we're in a climate emergency when we're watching the extreme weather events that we're seeing, and science is screaming it from the top of their lungs, and we're this close to being past the point of no return. Like at this point, there's no room for denial. We're not going down the Trump path, I hope, in this country. I hope we don't get so deep into it that stirring up the fear and anger is the way politics are handled, because we have enough to worry about here. And let's talk provincial politics.
Polyev is working that crowd. He's working them.
I don't think that he'll ever be. I don't think he'll get the Prime Minister's office on that. That's my opinion. But where I wanted to take you is still here in the province and over onto the NDP side of the equation, and the health minister. At a time where there's a lot to talk about that's very unpopular with regard to our health system in BC, and yet we hear Health Minister Adrian Dix giving that cautionary sort of concern about what might be to come this fall.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We're over to healthcare now. Yeah. It's
that was enough about Falcon. There's not more to say over there. Is there the spin?
No, but I think the caucus thing and controlling your caucus, I think,
you said that.
Before we get to the healthcare issue, I do think that we're looking at, when you touched on the Trump thing, I think the Polyev campaign has brought in the fold a lot of the people that are extremists. And I'm not, people can jump at me and go at me if you want, but he's found a way to bring them into the fold, to, as well as other people, in order to potentially, looks like, win the leadership of the Conservative Party. So it's a kind of leadership in the case of a leadership campaign where you have this very diverse people, and as does Kevin Falcon in BC, where he's got to bring them into the fold, or you got to boot them out if they're beyond extreme. So it's a question of, can you bring people who do not share your values or your opinions, or even the whatever might be the trend in the province or in the country, can you get them to be a part of the team, or can you not? And in the case of Kevin Falcon, his statement was, I can't make Rustad, he's not part of the team. He's not a team player. It's not even about this issue, but other stuff. Whereas Polyev on the federal campaign, where you can see the support he has from quite diverse spectrum of people, including some of the radicals on the right, I think there are just reasons for people to be concerned that fringe part of the Conservative Party could take hold, as it has with the Republicans in the state. So we have to be cautious of that. I'm not saying Polyev is that person, but it is, once you bring them into the fold and you make negotiations quite often to deals that happen in the back room, in order for you to win, then you're beholden to them. And what is that? What are those deals? What's he promised to get those people on board with him? That'll be what we'll see if he wins the leadership, which he will, and he has a very good chance of winning the prime minister.
Right, the leadership. He can win the leadership, but he's never getting the prime minister's office. I don't think that he's going to win. I don't think that, because you've said it a million times. You have to win the big centers, and you can't win the big centers on Bitcoin, extremism, anti-vaccines, truck convoy. Like you're not going to get the mushy middle or the.
You can win the bloc vote in Quebec on that, and you can win a big chunk of Ontario on that, and you certainly will win all of the center of Canada.
So you think Pierre Poilievre can take out? You think Pierre Poilievre will be a prime minister?
He can't. He could be. Yeah, I would say it's going to be very close. I would say he could take the prime minister down. Yeah. So, but anyways, on to the healthcare thing you brought up, which just came out.
I was the point that I was making on the just to bring it all the way around, because we went from Falcon to Poilievre and then we're coming back to the province. Mm-hmm. My point about the BC Liberals and about the big tent party is today's move by Kevin Falcon is refreshing for me as someone who has looked at the BC Liberal Party and questioned the big tent excuse, whereas this happened. And then he was held into the crosshairs of this happened. And then he said, you know what? It's not happening on my watch. Mm-hmm. I think that is something that, and it went all the way on a huge loop. So I want to make sure that we're not spinning the heads of people on UnSpun, because the focus of it was to take the spin out of what happened just now with the BC Liberal leader, is that he definitively laid down sort of a line in the sand. If you want to go in those extremes, it won't be here, as proven by somebody who's more than a single term.
And that's an issue, because obviously they had, in the last election, the Liberals had a lot of heat regarding homophobia, and they had to kick out a candidate because of that. And that they've got that. But the climate issue, in fact, if you look at their record under Gordon Campbell, we were leaders in the Liberals brought in a lot of positive climate stuff that really made a difference, and we are a leader in the world because of the Liberals. And so I would say that Kevin Falcon has a strong leg to stand on, saying, dude, that's not our party. We're actually the party that actually embraces the environment, and we need to take this seriously in order for our economy to work. We can't just, we can do both. You can have a strong economy and a strong, good environmental policies, as Trudeau often says.
Right.
Yes.
I think that lands on our kitchen tables more than the Pierre Poilievre rally cry of the nationalist Canada first, make Canada great again. Now we'll go to the health piece. We're just like,
Yes. Well, this was while we were both, this was on NW this morning when Adrian Dix was on talking about this fall and his concerns about managing the healthcare challenges that we're going to have. Two areas, obviously COVID, where that goes, and just the flu in general. And I guess it's the issue more about, we're already in crisis with our healthcare system, just in getting a doctor, as we know, or going to the clinics or whatever. We are, it's not good, and there doesn't seem to be
a 3-week wait for the walk-in clinic in the middle of summer is a symptom of a greater ill, pun intended. If it takes you 3 weeks to get into a walk-in clinic in the middle of summer where we're not in full-scale COVID flu crisis, what the hell is this going to look like in November? What is it going to look like in November? It's terrifying. And to just kind of like, well, we're really worried about that. It's like, well, we're all worried about this. And that is going to be horrifying. This is, I don't know about you, George, but it's unnerving, that conversations that we've been having for more than a year now, like people dying because they are sitting and waiting in emergency, or people dying because they're waiting for an ambulance. These issues were a year old, and they're not just still happening, they're worse. It's worse.
There's no plan. I have not heard a plan, concrete plan from this government that's been in power for more than 5 years now. Can't blame the Liberals for this doctor shortage and healthcare shortage, you can say, yeah, COVID had a big part of it. But what are nationally and provincially, what are our immigration policies related to healthcare workers? What is the, I saw a few stories this week related to that. And a friend who just moved to Ontario, I think she's a physiotherapist, massage therapist, and she moved to Ontario
RMT.
from British Columbia. Yeah, she moved to Ontario, and she said it was like so expensive and it took so long for her to get her credentials there. She's still in Canada. She's from Squamish. She moves to Ontario. How different can the job possibly be in Ontario and Quebec? Why are your credentials not good there? Why do you have to take all these courses again? Why do you have to pay all this money again? Why does it take over a year for her to get this when there's a demand for what she does? And that's just one person. This is a problem that we've known about for years and years and years and years and years. As a kid, I remember people saying, why is it that people come here and they're doctors and they're driving cabs? Why is this? Yeah, why is that? And why is that still happening? It makes no sense. And this is the policies of the federal government and the provincial governments and that have created this. And this lack of willingness to bring in people from around the world in that sector and assume, certainly from some places, maybe you could say, okay, maybe you need a bit more education. But generally, education for healthcare workers is pretty strong in most developed worlds, and some of them not even that developed. So it's disappointing that I don't hear a plan from the NDP here in BC at all.
We had somebody impersonate a nurse here. Who did it for a long time, finally caught, thank God. But imagine what might have gone wrong. She was not trained at all. And yet we're looking in the face, hundreds, maybe thousands of frontline healthcare workers right in front of us with the credentials, can be tested, but don't have the disposable income to be retrained here. I mean, George, you've said it so many times. We've seen how a government, whether it be provincial or federal, we've seen how a government can pivot when faced with a significant challenge. COVID-19 showed us the level of challenge and the level of pivot that can happen. I'm in shock, and I interviewed Adrian Dix a couple of weeks ago when filling in on radio. Shocked that we can't just get our prescriptions refilled at the pharmacist. Can we not free up the doctors for that much? What aren't you telling us? What's the spin in here?
Yeah, if I'm on a medication for high blood pressure,
hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah, and I have to go to the doctor every 6 months or a year, unless something changes. Like, why? And
birth control pills,
blood pressure, and whatever. I mean, it's very strange, and I certainly know that the pharmacists would probably prefer to have that. But I think it is a battle of territory. Literal geographical territory. Provinces don't want us fighting. They want to make it harder for us. It's a two-way street. They don't want to send people that way. They don't, and then it's a battle between different levels of skills of people, doctors versus pharmacists, and they're choosing their territory and they're sticking to it, and that unwillingness by them, what we see on the downtown east side, even that, if you look at it, it's a territorial war of different organizations fighting for the same cash to help the people that they're supposed to be helping, yet they're not working together. It's ridiculous. Millions of.
We didn't talk about this before, but you in our pre-show discussion, because usually we bandy about conversations we likely will have. But when you bring up the downtown east side, did you see the tweet that the VPD put out, where somebody from like one of the organizations on the downtown east side was basically like coming at them, and the police did like a full thread on like, this is disinformation. Like, it's not us that are demanding that streets be swept. That's the fire chief, and right, like but the mandate comes, and then the police have to try and safely do that. I mean, called this. How many episodes are we in? We're 183 episodes in. You called this an episode 1 of UnSpun Podcast. You said this is going to get remarkably worse. People will die, which they have.
Yeah,
they have. And now we're in the untenable level, and all the way down to and including the park board saying that the Crab Park, they've roped off the shade in the park. Did you see that? Because they're remediating the area. The park board has fenced off the shade in a heat emergency. We're in a heat emergency, heat warning, right? So the people that have nowhere to go.
I'm just gonna bang my head against my.
Can I show you this? I have to cover my.
Month,
hold on, I have to cover my address here, but I got one of these today from the city.
Oh, is this related to your tweets about your bush outside your house, your hedge being too aggressive? Attacking
That
cars?
wasn't my hedge.
Attacking...
That wasn't my hedge.
Oh,
that was my friends down the way.
Oh.
It wasn't me until today. This is today. I just got this. This is new. Apparently, the bylaw officers are working out. They're hard at work combing your neighborhood for overgrown hedges and ivy and shrubs.
Dogs that are peeing on my the playground at my park where the kids play. That'd be nice. Go start finding people. Do
you want to know
on the playground equipment? Anyways,
right?
Yes,
do you want to know some of the things on here? Let me just read off the things that the bylaw officers can check off. Cut all vegetation, hedges, and shrubs back from the sidewalk. I understand that. People need to get by. Cut all vegetation and hedges to the fence. Okay. Can you cut the medians? Can you mow the lawn in the park, please? Cut a 2-inch diameter around a lamp pole for electrical branch inspection. My job to cut around the lamp pole, apparently. Cut low-hanging branches to above 8 feet above ground level. Cut tree branches to 15 feet above ground level, which those two are, I don't even know. Cut vegetation or branches covering city signage. How is that our job? What do our tax dollars pay for when it comes to
the City of Vancouver Park Board?
This is the City of Vancouver now. Engineering services, street operations.
Can the city find the park board? Can they start sending those to the park board?
That's a very good question. Because I'm fine to trim back my stuff. I'll take care of it. I was actually complaining about friends of mine who were told that their garbage wouldn't be picked up unless the height of their hedge, not width of their hedge, it wasn't impeding the truck. It had gotten too tall.
That was the argument I heard on all the tweets was like, oh, the truck couldn't get around the corner or something.
Nope. It was height. It's like highest and best use taxes. It's like, what? Why do you care how tall that is? I don't.
Your neighbors
or isn't. The neighbors didn't complain. It's very weird. It's the as part of our street maintenance program, the city performs annual inspections for road, curbs, pavements, sidewalks, lanes, and boulevards. Boulevards?
Don't worry, Jody. The next mayor of Vancouver will take care of this for you.
Okay, who's going to be the next mayor of Vancouver?
It's like, well, I think I touched on it. The NPA rumor. They're going to announce. They are going to announce a mayoral candidate. A lot of people are thinking,
really?
Why? John Coupar is gone. What are the chances of you guys getting votes? If they do, and one rumor there's three people that I've heard rumored: Glenn Chernin, Ken Charco, who is one of the candidates for council for NPA, and the third is Fred Harding, who ran for Vancouver first, and that's a rumor started by Ray Tomlin, who's got Van Ramblings. It's a good rumor. That's a good one. I think when you think about where he stands politically and aligned with potentially some of the things at NPA, no matter who it is, they'll still get 10,000 votes.
Hold on, go back. You said that all really fast, like first. I know.
Fred Harding was
Vancouver. So what's it? Fred Harding.
He ran for mayor last time. Ken Charco is certainly a candidate right now for the NPA, and then
councillor
Glenn Chernin was. I think he was on the board briefly, or he certainly was one of the people behind the scenes. He had the Cedar Party, and then I think he became morphed. So, this is very interesting. Not so much the fact that the NPA are going to go for it, and then second, that this is great news for Kennedy-Stewart, as I've always predicted. This just pretty much would see. I just think it would really. This will take 10,000 votes away, not from him. 10,000 votes away from Ken Sim, or 10,000 votes away from Colleen Hardwick. And that's the difference between losing and winning. You've got so many people now. You got Mark Marison in there getting about 5,000 or 10,000. Although he's more of a threat to Kennedy-Stewart than I think than the right wing candidates. So it's not good news for the right side of the spectrum. And it pretty much, unless Kennedy-Stewart, and it's still early, if he runs a terrible campaign. I think there's a better chance that Colleen Hardwick would get some of his votes from the left side of the spectrum. She's certainly with Bill Tillman on there. She's certainly pulling in a lot of people who are on the left side of the spectrum. People who have single family homes who are left wing. They have their homes. They don't want to lose their homes. They're just like right wing people. They don't want to lose their single family homes. Leave my home alone. Don't touch my home.
Leave my home alone. Van Ramblings.
Yes.
I don't know much about that, but I read one of the posts.
Yes, there's takedown of Ken Sim. He is a lot of gossip and rumor kind of. It's fun to read, but hard to believe sometimes. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
but it's still kind of fun to read. He's been around. He's just a watcher of politics. He sometimes aligns himself with people. For example, Christine Boyle. He loves Christine Boyle in the last election for Vancouver City Council. And I'm sorry for all those people who don't live in Vancouver who are probably going, what are you guys talking about? But this time he hates
There's
Christine
a lot to unpack. There's a lot to
Boyle.
unpack.
This time he hates Christine Boyle. Just hates her. So it's like, okay, what happened? Well, you loved her. Now
what happened?
What happened? Anyways, it'll be interesting. That kind of stuff, this kind of rumors and all this stuff that's happening and some of the nastiness that you're probably going to start seeing very, very soon. Ken Sims' announcement about the housing,
and the police,
the police and the the 100 workers. The math is interesting. Says he's going to find $300 million. How, where, when, what?
Somebody attacked him and said it. Somebody attacked him on Twitter or that idea, and aligned it with like Donald Trump making a bunch of promises without. And I thought, okay, too far. I mean,
it's promises are standard procedure in politics, no matter who you are.
But I also enjoy somebody coming to the table with at least an idea of what I'm going to try and get this done, as opposed to see what they're doing wrong, right? And that's my novice. But I mean, I watch this in a way that I'm an outsider, but I'm a voter, so it matters to me. What else matters to me? That Senok, is that the way to pronounce the new Squamish Nation development down by the Broad Street Bridge? The controversy around the service road.
Yeah.
And you know what, people, brace yourself, because those trees are coming down. Like the big trees down there are all being cleared.
Broad Street Bridge. You'll see on the right-hand side, they're pretty scraggly trees. They're pretty much just weeds that have grown up bigger. I think they're not it's not like a real forest. It's West Coast.
But prepare yourself for the NIMBYism that's going to take place, because when you do the math on how much land was taken from the nation and how little was given back, and we're going to argue about where the road goes, come on. I've really felt like that. I felt uncomfortable for those NIMBYs. Like, really, guys?
You call them NIMBYs.
Oh, sorry. The people who are demanding that the nation whose land we're all living on don't get to put the road in for their rental, like
buses that
or
want to
whatever.
get out of there from for the tourists. Oh, don't get the neighborhood started on that.
Buses. There's going to be cars there.
There's going to be cars and bicycles and trains and buses and maybe jetpacks. I got to go. I got a meeting in 2 minutes.
Okay. Follow George, because all of this can be found on our Twitter handles. George _Affleck at Jody Vance, Jody with a Y, at Jody Vance. I'm so sorry I was late today, buddy. Thank you for being so patient. I've been running around like my hair on fire.
Literally hair done though. Looks lovely. For those who
thank you. Got caught in traffic.
New haircut. All ready for your new TV show, which nobody's heard about it yet, Jody. We'll talk about that next week.
We'll talk about that later. UnSpunPodcast.com is where you make sure you get to listen to this every week. Thank you for putting up with me this week, George. I was a little bit on fire. Came in hot. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.